Have you ever felt exhausted? Not because you worked too hard, but because you thought too much? Like your body is fine, your life is technically okay, but your mind? Your mind won't shut up. It keeps replaying old mistakes. It keeps predicting future failures. It keeps whispering, "You're not ready, not yet, maybe never." And the worst part? You've started believing it. You wake up already behind. You scroll and see everyone else figuring it out. Careers moving, relationships growing, confidence radiating. And you're sitting there thinking, what's wrong with me? Be honest. Does that feel familiar? Here's the quiet truth nobody tells you. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you've been listening to the wrong narrator. And that narrator lives in your head. But this is where things change. Because the real problem isn't your circumstances. It's your identity. Somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing yourself as someone who can, and you started seeing yourself as someone who almost could. Almost confident, almost disciplined, almost brave, almost. And almost is one of the most painful places to live. Now here's the part nobody tells you. Self-doubt doesn't scream, it whispers. It sounds logical. It sounds responsible. It sounds like you're just being realistic. I'll start when I'm more prepared. I'll apply when I'm more qualified. I'll speak up when I'm more confident. But when does more ever arrive? Think about that for a second. When was the last time you felt fully ready for something that mattered? Exactly. This is the beginning of your story. You're the hero. But right now, you don't feel like one. You feel tired, mentally heavy, like you're carrying invisible weight. And maybe you've even wondered, what if this is just who I am? That thought right there, that's the trap. Because the moment you believe your current state is your permanent identity, you stop trying. And when you stop trying, life starts shrinking. Opportunities feel bigger than you. Rooms feel intimidating. Other people's confidence feels personal. But wait till you hear this. Self-doubt isn't proof that you can't. It's proof that you care. Let that sink in. If you didn't care, you wouldn't overthink. If you didn't care, you wouldn't worry about failing. If you didn't care, you wouldn't feel behind. The anxiety you hate? It's misplaced ambition. The fear you avoid? It's untrained courage. That's when it hits you. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just untrained. Because nobody ever taught you how to manage your mind. They taught you math. They taught you history. They taught you how to follow instructions. But nobody taught you how to sit with fear, how to challenge your thoughts, how to separate your identity from your emotions. So you grew up thinking, I feel insecure, so I must be insecure. I feel lost, so I must be lost. I feel scared, so I must be weak. But feelings are weather, not permanent climate. And here's the twist. You've been waiting for confidence to act, but confidence is created by action, not before it. Read that again in your mind. You don't become confident and then try. You try, and confidence follows. But your brain hates that order. Your brain wants safety first. It wants guarantees. It wants certainty. And life doesn't give those out. So you wait. And while you wait, time moves. And here's a hard question. Which one are you right now? Stuck or starting? Don't answer out loud. Just feel it. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they never switch identities. They keep calling themselves the shy one, the anxious one, the overthinker, the late bloomer. And your brain listens. Your brain is loyal. It will build evidence to match whatever you call yourself. Call yourself unlucky? It will highlight every loss. Call yourself awkward? It will replay every weird moment at 2 a.m. But call yourself someone who is learning? Now that's different. That opens a door. This next part changes everything. You don't need a new life. You need a new narrative. Because the voice in your head isn't truth. It's repetition. And repetition can be rewritten.
Here's where it gets real.
You've been treating self-doubt like an enemy, something to fight, something to eliminate. But what if it's actually a signal? Not a stop sign, a signal. Because every time you feel that tightness in your chest, that hesitation before sending the email, that urge to shrink in a room full of confident people, it's not saying you can't. It's saying, this matters. And that changes everything. Most people spend years trying to silence fear, but the ones who grow, they learn to walk with it. Think about it. The version of you who has the job, the body, the peace, the confidence you want, do you really think they don't feel fear? Or do they just interpret it differently? Be honest. When you see someone who seems confident, what do you assume? That must be nice. They're just built that way. I could never be like that. That right there, that's the lie. Confidence isn't a personality trait. It's a memory bank. It's stacked proof. Every time you do something uncomfortable and survive, you deposit proof. Every time you speak, even though your voice shakes, proof. Every time you try and don't die from embarrassment, proof. But if you avoid, you withdraw, and eventually, your account feels empty. Here's a question most people won't admit. Are you actually afraid of failing? Or are you afraid of being seen trying? Sit with that. Because trying exposes you. It risks judgment. It risks rejection. It risks someone saying, "Who do you think you are?" And maybe you've already heard that before. Maybe not out loud, but in subtle ways. A teacher who doubted you. A parent who compared you. A friend who laughed when you dreamed bigger. So you adjusted. You played smaller. You became realistic. I used to think being realistic was mature, but sometimes realistic is just fear wearing glasses. And that's the moment in every hero's journey when something shifts. You realize the villain isn't out there. It's the voice that says, "Stay safe." Because safe feels comfortable. But comfortable slowly becomes suffocating. Life starts feeling repetitive, predictable, heavy. And you start asking yourself at night, is this it? Why do we keep settling for a life that feels half alive? Because uncertainty feels scarier than dissatisfaction. At least dissatisfaction is familiar. But here's the part nobody prepares you for. Growth feels like loss at first. You lose your old excuses. You lose your old identity. You even lose some people who preferred the smaller version of you. That's uncomfortable. And your brain will try to pull you back. This is too much. You're not that person. Go back to what's easy. But this is where the guide appears. Not a person, an idea. The idea that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. That single shift is power, because if you can observe a thought, you can question it. And if you can question it, you can reframe it. Instead of, "I'm bad at this," what if it becomes, "I'm new at this"? Instead of, "I always mess up," what if it becomes, "I'm learning what doesn't work"? Small shift, massive difference. Your brain believes what you repeat. So what have you been repeating? I'm behind, I'm awkward, I can't focus, I never finish anything. If that's the script, no wonder you feel stuck. But imagine something radical. Imagine you stopped introducing yourself to yourself that way. What if you started saying, "I'm becoming disciplined. I'm building confidence. I'm figuring it out." Feels fake at first, right? Of course it does. Your brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. But this next part changes everything. Identity isn't discovered. It's decided. You don't find yourself. You choose who you're becoming and act accordingly.
And yes, that feels uncomfortable, because now you're responsible. No more blaming your past. No more waiting for motivation. No more waiting to feel ready. Just small, intentional, proof-building actions. And here's the twist. You don't need a massive leap. You need micro-bravery. One uncomfortable email, one honest conversation, 1 hour of focused work, one workout, one boundary. That's it. Momentum doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. So let me ask you something quietly. If you kept living exactly like this for the next 5 years, would you be proud? Don't overthink it. Just feel the answer.
If that question made your stomach tighten, good. That tension, that's awareness waking up. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't change when you're motivated. You change when you're tired of your own patterns. And maybe you're there right now. Tired of restarting. Tired of saying, this week will be different. Tired of feeling capable, but not consistent. Here's where it gets even deeper. Self-doubt isn't just about confidence. It's about trust. You don't trust yourself anymore. You've broken too many small promises. I'll wake up early. I'll start Monday. I won't text them again. I'll stop procrastinating. And every time you don't follow through, a tiny crack forms. Not in your ability, in your self-trust. And without self-trust, everything feels heavier. You hesitate more. You question more. You overthink more. Because somewhere inside, your brain says, why try? We don't even stick to things. Be honest. Does that hit? This is the part most people avoid. They try to build confidence with affirmations. But confidence without integrity collapses. Integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being aligned. If you say you're going to do something, and you do it, even when you don't feel like it, your brain starts to relax. It starts to believe you again. And when you believe yourself, everything shifts. But here's the catch. You've been chasing big wins, big transformations, big habits, big overnight changes. And that's why you keep burning out. Wait till you hear this. The version of you that feels powerful is built in the smallest, most boring moments. The moment you don't hit snooze. The moment you sit down to work when you'd rather scroll. The moment you say no without explaining yourself. Those moments don't look dramatic, but they build identity, and identity builds destiny. Now here's the surprising realization. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your system is chaos, your life will feel chaotic. If your system is avoidance, your results will reflect avoidance. So the real question isn't, what do I want? It's, what am I repeatedly doing? That's uncomfortable. Because now it's not about potential. It's about patterns. And patterns can be changed, but only if you're honest about them. So let me ask you something quietly. What's the one behavior you keep repeating that you know is keeping you stuck? Don't justify it. Don't soften it. Just name it. Procrastination, people-pleasing, overthinking, escaping into your phone. Most people won't admit their pattern out loud, but something shifts when you do, because awareness removes illusion. And once the illusion is gone, you can't unsee it. This is the crossing the threshold moment, the moment the hero stops blaming the world and starts looking inward. Not with shame, with responsibility. There's a difference. Shame says, I'm the problem. Responsibility says, I can change this. One makes you smaller, the other makes you powerful. And here's the twist nobody talks about. When you start changing, you will feel awkward, like you're pretending, like you're acting confident instead of being confident. That's normal. Every new identity feels like a costume at first, but wear it long enough, and it becomes skin. Let's make this practical. You say you want discipline. Okay, What would a disciplined person do tonight? Not next month. Tonight. Would they scroll for 3 hours or prepare for tomorrow? Would they avoid the hard conversation or send the message? Binary choice. There's no in between. This is where life quietly splits, and you don't need to be extreme. You just need to be slightly better than yesterday. 1% braver, 1% more honest, 1% more focused. That compounds. But here's the emotional shift. You stop trying to prove yourself to others and start proving yourself to yourself. That's when peace begins. Because when you trust yourself, outside opinions lose power. Rejection stings less. Failure feels instructional, not fatal. Setbacks feel temporary. You begin to see life as training, not a test. And training implies growth. So here's the quiet challenge. For the next 7 days, act like someone who believes they can. Even if it feels fake, especially if it feels fake. Because belief isn't found, it's built. And this next part is where you become self-made. This is where everything locks in. You've realized something powerful now. You were never incapable. You were inconsistent. And inconsistency doesn't mean weakness. It means misalignment. You've been living based on moods, not standards. And moods are unpredictable. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days you feel empty. If your actions depend on how you feel, your results will always fluctuate. But standards? Standards don't care about mood. Standards say, this is who I am now. Not when I feel like it. Not when I'm motivated. Not when life gets easier. Now, that's the shift. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? That single question changes behavior. Because suddenly, you're not fighting laziness, you're protecting identity. And identity is powerful. When you identify as someone disciplined, you don't negotiate with distractions. When you identify as someone confident, you don't beg for validation. When you identify as someone resilient, you don't collapse after setbacks. You adjust. Let's get real for a second. Nobody is coming to rescue you. Not your friends, not your family, not some magical opportunity. The future version of you? They're waiting. Waiting for you to make one brave decision. Not 10. Not a life overhaul. 1. Maybe it's deleting the app. Maybe it's sending the email. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's finally starting that project. Whatever it is, you already know it. That quiet thing you've been avoiding? That's it. And here's the truth most people don't understand. Action creates clarity. You've been waiting to feel ready, but readiness is a myth. Clarity comes after movement. Confidence comes after repetition. Momentum comes after starting. So start messy, start small, start scared. Just start. Because every time you act despite fear, you shrink its power. Every time you follow through, you repair self-trust. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you upgrade identity. And one day, you'll look back and realize something unbelievable. You won't recognize the old version of you, the overthinker, the procrastinator, the doubter. Not because they disappeared overnight, but because you outgrew them. That's the goal. Not perfection, progress. Not intensity, consistency. Not proving others wrong, proving yourself right. Let this sink in. You don't need a new personality. You need new standards. You don't need more motivation. You need more alignment. You don't need permission. You need decision. And decisions are powerful because they cut options. When you decide who you are, distractions lose their charm. Excuses lose their logic. Old habits lose their grip. Because now you're moving with intention. This is the real comeback story. Not from money, not from status, from self-doubt, from inconsistency, from the version of you that almost gave up. And here's the part that matters most. The phrase isn't just words anymore. It's a commitment. I can do this. Not because it's easy, not because you're fearless, not because success is guaranteed, but because you refuse to quit on yourself again. Say it when it's hard. Say it when you're tired. Say it when you're tempted to stop. I can do this. Because the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you choose to do next. Not tomorrow, not next week, next. Close this. Take one action and begin. Your next chapter doesn't start with motivation. It starts with a decision. Make it.